Anacapa is one of my favorite islands out of the 5 in the Channel Islands National Park. Anacapa Island is one of the most important breeding grounds for the brown pelican. It's shallow feeding grounds and plenty of bait fish for them, as well as steep cliffs and no predators. And also, they're really good flyers. So not only the winds coming off the ocean, but the topography allows them to glide long distances and then feed offshore and a close distance back to the nest so they can feed their chicks and thrive on these islands. But I think what makes it the most important is this great conservation story. Back in the 1850s, the Winfield Scott ran aground on Anacapa Island, and all the people were rescued, but the rats escaped, so they survived and thrived on the island, and eventually they wiped out most of the birds that have never had predators before on the island. So it was very important in the 90s when the Park Service took on this project. They used a rodenticide, so now it is a rat-free island, and you have your marine sanctuaries surrounding the islands, which is very important for the kelp forest and everything that lives below the sea. Another opportunity for conservation was back in the 60s and 70s, the DDT wiped out the pelicans to almost extinction on the coast here. DDT was a chemical that was widely used in the 50s and 60s, and it was produced in LA by Montrose, and they released it into the bay, not knowing the long-term effects. But once it got into the waterway and into the fish, it had detrimental effects on birds. The eggs would not form, and basically it was extinction. Many of the birds paid the price decades later for Montrose releasing this chemical DDT into the LA basin. DDT was outlawed, I believe it was the early 70s, but it's been forever in the water here, and it's taken many decades for the recovery of these species. Pelicans, they are incredible gliders, and they seem to be attached by a central nervous system, and when one moves, they all move with them. It's like a train, and they're really gangly looking and prehistoric, but they are so graceful when they're flying. They are very interesting looking birds that have a fascinating life, and one of my favorite birds on Earth. Anacapa Island has been very important for the recovery of the species. People that have lived along the coast here, they never saw brown pelicans, but we see them every day now along the coast. As we passed Anacapa, we saw hundreds, if not thousands of birds soaring, nesting, gliding, feeding. So I would say their recovery was an extreme success.